All right, so we're going to build this Ethos up. Super stoked about it. This midnight copper looks fresh. I'm not sure if you can see it in the camera. We'll have to get a close up, but the riser just looks absolutely gorgeous. I think looking good is a prerequisite to shooting good, so we definitely nailed that out of the ballpark for sure. And on top of that, I find that I really enjoy quarter-inch draw length increments over half-inch draw length increments. That 29 3/4 really feels smooth when I'm pulling through on it. Um, just kind of going over some technology Elite has that some of you might know about and some of you that don't. So we're just kind of going to go through a little bit of it. So they have their set technology. And so what that allows you to do is to adjust. There's a little screw up here, an Allen screw that you'll back out, and then you'll turn the set technology one way or the other depending on what sort of paper tear that you have. It allows you to keep your rest in center shot, which is extremely important for tuning, for broadhead tuning, and then for the hunter out there for penetration purposes as well. So the less time that arrow needs to correct itself, the better. And so I think Elite is really taken over the easeability alongside the shootability when it comes to working on and tuning their bows. Really enjoy that portion. So the next part that I want to talk about, again, I've not really had to adjust this a whole lot during the tuning process, but it's their LTR technology. It allows you to move this cable guard in and out. A lot of people do based on vane configuration and such. I've not really had a problem that I had to use that yet, but it is really nice knowing that I can tinker with that if I ever needed to. All right, so we're going to start the build process. I've already installed the CB Defy rest on the bow, and then I'm going to go ahead and put it in, make sure it's still in center shot, and we'll go through it. So I have the CB Defy rest installed. I'm going to put it in the press. All right, so we're getting this Chyros put together. Again, installing a CB Defy rest. Go ahead, get my center shot set up onto it. All right, so getting this CB Defy rest in center shot. Again, I have a Trek Pro installed on this bow as well. Just a single pin. It's one thing. I honestly it took me a long time to get myself in the single pin game, but I've been really enjoying it. I know the debates back and forth about having enough time to adjust your pin while the deer's moving. I get all that, even out west, but really at the end of the day, I feel like I've always had enough time to adjust my pin the last 2 years using it. So for those that are teetering on the fence, I mean, come on and give it a try. These Trek Pros are awesome. Easy sight acquisition, easy to adjust. So again, the second, third axis is just a dream to work with. Just kind of an easy way to help yourself get your knock points right is I use these silver paint Sharpies. So after I get my rest and center shot, because sometimes it's hard, you almost need 4 hands. So I like to get my knock in place in the correct place and then go ahead and mark it with these silver paint Sharpies. Just like so. And then tying your knocking points. Again, it's kind of not going to be the end all be all, but it's a great place to start, and it just kind of frees up your hands rather than having the knock on there sometimes. All right, so I'm going to tie my knocking points. I either like to use 14 or 17 Halo BCY. And again, when you're tying your knocking points in, just enough, the right amount of space is usually 1 strand of serving, depending on what size you're using there. All right, so how I like to tie my knocking points is essentially I'm doing a couple over and under knots. So I start with an over, then come around the bottom, do an under, back over top. So I usually like 2. And then on the bottom, I'll do a double my under. And that really helps cinch it in. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and tie my peep in. All right, so it's time for first impressions. Have this ethos built up. CBE, the Trek Pro, the Micro 3V, the CBE Defy Rest, the Hamsky Peep, Hamsky Raptor Peep. So really excited. Man, I just love how their bows just lock into place like that, even when the cable stops. One thing that I want to point out for a lot of people that have shoulder injuries, or when you're in a tree stand, rarely are you ever static. I mean that you're following that deer, whether a doe buck, but especially bucking their route when they're kind of chasing does. So one really nice attribute that Elite has installed in their equipment is their let off, built off of their cam and mod system. So my shoulder, sometimes depending if you're going, you're chasing a buck to the left or to the right, sometimes your shoulder wants to go forward on you a little bit. And in certain bow companies, it would just lunge forward. Where this, I feel locked into place here. So back on the shot here. Man, this 33 really feels stable. Man. So it does feel very similar to my Omnia, but I feel when I get the bow at full draw, that that extra inch in whatever it is, I feel like it bounces out a little bit sooner. I feel like it is a little bit more stable. Again, you're going to see that with longer axle bows, but yeah, no, that's super nice. So really looking forward to building up the Kairos and just kind of comparing the two. One has the SPX cam, one has the SP cam. So this with the SP, the Chyros with the SPX. We'll just see if there's a little bit difference. Like I said, axle length, the same. Draw length is going to be a little bit different, and also the brace height on those two bows is going to be a little bit different. So let's build up the Chyros and then compare the two. All right, so again, first impressions, first shot with this bow. This is the Trek Pro sight by CBE, the CBE Defy Rest, a CBE Spider Torx bar. Really curious just to see the differences between the brace light and then also the different cams in these two bows, just the feel of them. So let's see what we got here. So just falls back into place. CB does a really, really good job with that. So this bow definitely wants to creep forward a little bit more than the Ethos. Something to keep in mind. During the shot, again, balances super well at 33 inches. Feel like it does feel really nice at full draw, just kind of holding here for a couple seconds. But during the shot, so honestly, very small differences, but I will say I feel like there's a little bit more bounce in this bow than the Ethos. I feel like there is maybe it might be maybe a little bit louder. I mean, it's hard in this room. The room echoes a little bit, but I mean, these are just. I mean, I'm really scraping hard to find faults with this bow. I mean, the Kairos, and for all intents and purposes, feels awesome. CB, like again, I've said that a few times, but CBD really prides themselves, and as they should, in making an extremely shootable bow, a bow that feels good in the draw, a bow that feels good after the shot. I mean, sometimes with certain companies, it's hard to get both of those. You'll have one or the other, but CBE, pre-shot and post-shot always feel phenomenal in my opinion. I would recommend this bow to anybody. Like I said, I was scraping the bottom of the barrel to find some cons for this bow. Again, awesome bow, and it's just going to be what you like. I mean, those people with that 29.5-inch draw, recommend you shoot bow. So just to do a little recap with these two bows, It's really hard to pick one or the other. They both feel phenomenal. It's just going to be a matter of preference, and then also maybe even a matter of jaw length, right? With the Ethos starting at 25 and a half and going out to 31, and the Kairos starting at 24 and going out to 29 and a half. So, but those people within the draw lengths where these two both meshed, I definitely recommend shooting both of them. Me personally, I would have to pick the Ethos. I felt it was a little bit smoother, felt like it held full draw a little better, and even post shot, I felt like maybe a little bit less noise in it as well. But that's very small between two of them. They both felt amazing. So would love to have anybody interested come on in the shop and check these bows out. But we put a 500 grain arrow through each of these bows at 29 and a half inches, 70 pounds. The Ethos was right around 278 feet per second, and the Chyros was 275. So even when it comes to speed, with a similar arrow build, very similar as well. It's just, I think it's going to be a matter of you picking up and shooting these bows and what it feels like to each individual. So thanks for checking it out, and look forward to seeing you in the store demoing these bows.